Should the music guy be writing notes in the margins for the visual guy, and should we be sending notes to the music guy of I need a big hit at minute 3, or I need a nice down ending? I mean,
I think that those are very important things to let the music designer, if he has some ideas of what he sees are leading up to, say, a large impact. But my biggest note of advice that I see to the groups across America is take a step back and listen to your program. First, is it something that you want to listen to and you want to work on for 3 months or sometimes longer, and are your kids going to enjoy that? Don't let the music become so left field or esoteric that you think you're going to please an adjudicator, that you don't please yourself and please your own program. So develop musical, good content moments that are satisfying for you to work on, for your kids to work on, and provide something that the listener can put a hook on. Most musical impacts, I think we're afraid to make them too long or have too much melody. I'm all about melody, and our music designer, Mr. Aaron Guidry, is a genius at weaving melodical, musical melodies into something that you can recognize. Maybe in a very new way that kind of stretches, what you want to hear, but don't lose melody in your program.
Yeah, and if you go back and watch some of the BA programs, just some brilliant melodic lines in there. He is a master. Okay, so we've listened and studied our adjudication tapes. We know what we want to develop. We've narrowed it down to a concept. We've sent some thoughts to the arranger, and he sent back beautiful music with liner notes for the drill writer. The drill writer is working on the drill. It's now probably March, April, May. It's late spring probably. What else should they be thinking of as the school year evolves to a close before you get into summer break and summer camp?
Well, once music gets at a level where that you feel that you're on the right track and you have a visual concept that you want to portray, is it literal? Do you want to see specific characters, or you want to see a vague character that you let the audience interpret their own story? And you let that define your direction through the visual process. And
does every show need to have a story?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that if you get to the point where I think you have to have a libretto to understand what the show is, then we're overthinking it. I've really enjoyed shows. One of my favorites over the last couple of years has been watching LD Bell High School over the last few years. What are their shows? You can go on multiple musical forums and see what everyone's interpretation of that show is, and every one of them are right. None of them are wrong, because the design process they go through, whatever you get out of that program is what it is. And I think that's very clever and a very intellectual approach to design, for sure.
It is, and that's a Wes Cartwright.
My buddy Wes.
Yeah. Wes does amazing work. If at what point in time do you start to think about a color palette, flags, silks, costumes, colors on the uniform, colors on the field? Is that way back at the beginning as a part of the design process, or is that after you've got all the pieces together and you see it in front of you? When does that process happen?
I think that has to be incorporated once you get this visual identity. Where are you headed? And if you're fortunate to have Wes Cartwright, he's thinking about that from the first note of music that he heard. He already has a vision of at least the first draft of where we're headed, and the color palette is key. The color palette is certainly key in that.
So I couldn't do a webisode that's from a student leadership guy if I didn't ask you, at what point in that whole process do you choose your student leaders? How do you do it? Are they allowed any buy-in into that process? Tell me a little bit about that, your student leadership.
Well, student leadership, when it comes to leaders, we tell them, number one, you've been auditioning for your leadership position the very first day you picked up your instrument back in your first day of band in 6th grade or whatever that was. And so, you build character, you don't just discover it immediately.
It's not a light switch. Right?
Yeah. We have a process of selecting our leaders that kind of borrowed from you over the years.
And you've adapted to fit your program though.
Certainly. Yeah. Where we make the leadership process of selecting our leaders where it's a win-win. Right. That the applicant is going to get something introspective out of that they magnify our program and make a more of awareness of our program out just outside of our band room walls, by interviewing community leaders, by interviewing some of our school officials, and it becomes a great, again, a synergistic moment, for selecting our leaders.
And if you'd like to know more about that process, just give me an email or a shout out or a phone call. I'll be happy to share with you the process that I develop, and you can morph it to be what works best for you in your program. There's no ego involved. It needs to work for you. And then, do you do any training in the spring with your leaders?
Sure. We have a spring kind of seminar that we do with our amongst our staff. We utilize a couple of our staff members, Mr. Aaron Bryan, Mr. James Stevens. They kind of take the lead on creating our new leadership team. We have a mandatory meeting that all the leaders must, potential leadership students must attend, to kind of know what the job description is, and to know if that's a position that they
Sure.
truly
A good
want to
fit.
sacrifice for, and then let the process roll from there.
That's awesome. Well, if someone wanted to get in touch with you or learn more about some of your brief thoughts that we've shared today, or wanted to ask you some questions, or wanted to talk to you about possibly having you serve as a program coordinator or a drill writer, how would they find you?
I'm very easily accessible. Email is the best way to get in touch with me. Go to brokenairpride.com, staff selection, and you'll find my ugly picture. Just click on that, and that'll shoot an email straight to me, which is ddavis1@baschools.org. Look forward to hearing from you.
And for those who don't know, I'd be remiss without closing to share this with you. I've known Darren for probably 5 years now, since we started working together. And I will tell you, there is not a better group of people teaching young people than the folks at Broken Arrow, whether it's their concert program, their jazz program, their outlandishly talented percussion program, or what many of you know them as is their national championship marching organization. They are truly just world-class human beings teaching kids to be great, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to watch you and your staff in action over the next 5 years.
Well, thank you. We consider you a part of our team as well.
Thank you very much. Hey, happy holidays from us
Happy New
to
Year.
you. Many best wishes, and if there's anything we can do to help you, feel free to give us a shout out. Take care. That's the end of Webisode
Number 10.
10. Bye-bye.